Yay! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nature Journal show. The Wild Wonder Conference is over, so what do we do now? Luckily, I'm here with Ivea, Billy Joe, and Kathleen to talk about some ideas. Welcome to the show, y'all. All right, great. It looks like Ivea's internet is freezing a little bit, but no worries. We're going to get started with a couple questions, and hopefully, for those of you at home, whether you're signed up for the video pass, whether you binged on all of the live classes, or whether you're not going to Wild Wonder at all this year, hopefully there will be some tips and ideas for all of you. So let's start with a quick round of introductions where we can share our name and maybe show one of our pages from the conference. If you have a page of sketch notes, or maybe you took one of the classes and drew something for one of the classes, let's just go around, briefly introduce ourselves, and show a page. I'll go first just to sort of model. My name is Marley, and here is one of my pages from the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference. I actually drew that I drove down to San Francisco and watched some of the classes that day with my friends, and this was Rosalie's class. That's me. How about Kathleen go next, then Billy Joe, then Ivea?
Thank you so much for having us. I'm Kathleen. I made a little pocket for all of my treasures. And for example, these are the poems of the day, and I tucked them in there. And then I've got two little booklets that I kept loose. And this is the Panama page.
I'm going to spotlight you for a second. I think I
Okay.
can do that. Whoops, that's not right. Because that looks really cool. Here we go. Wow, nice.
So sometimes I printed out some things from the handouts and shrunk them down. And I've got two mini booklets like this that I'm going to tuck inside the pockets.
Great. Oh, great idea. Okay, let me go back to this one. Whoops. All right, how about you, Billy Joe? Do you have any pages?
Yeah, hey, I'm Billy Joe. I did quite a bit of moderating this year at the Wild Wonder, but I was able to sneak in a few classes. And the one that I truly loved was with Sushma and learning how to do all of the watercolors flowers, just like free flow, which was really really exciting. So yeah, I really had a lot of fun with this class, and this is the first time I'd ever sort of tried this. So that was really exciting.
Yay, cool. What about you, Ivea? Uh-oh, hold on one second. That's so weird. Hold on, it's saying you're muted. Oh no. I can't unmute you. Is your mic, you're saying your mic's not connected? Okay, that page looked really great, and there's some technical difficulty, so sorry about that, everybody. But this could be, maybe we can approach this in a creative way and see how nature journaling can be a visual communication, even if you can't hear Ivea. Wow, that's so weird. There's some technical difficulty because I've never experienced this before. Oh, and it looks like Sandra just popped in. So this is going to be a full house here. I see that Annetta is here, Eli is here, Cindy is here, Karen is here in the audience. Oh, Ivea, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, Ivea. I've never experienced that before. Maybe try signing off and then coming back in again. All right, everybody, this is kind of like musical chairs here with the guests. Hi, Sandra. We're just getting started here. We had some issues with Ivea's connection, but hopefully you can get on sideways too. All right, this is really fun. Okay, so the next question, maybe we can just focus on Kathleen and Billy Joe for now, is what is one, I'm gonna remove you for a second just because that's a little bit distracting. But okay, here we go. So, what is one key takeaway that you have from the conference? Like, is there some nugget that kind of coalesced in your mind, starting with Kathleen and then Billy Joe?
Besides just connecting with the community, which is so awesome and invigorating and inspiring, I think the main thing that I got out of it is just looking at this huge umbrella of nature journaling and how many different things there are under it, how many different aspects, techniques, materials, approaches, the science angle, the art angle, the community, the service, and just seeing such an incredible array of specialties that people have and tucking all those fun things in my toolkit to revisit later and seeing how many different angles there are on the big topic of nature journaling.
Wow, that's really cool. So just the diversity of
Mhm.
what is all under that nature journaling umbrella. How about you, Billy Joe, and then Ivea? What are key takeaway? What is a
Yeah,
key takeaway?
I think the key takeaways for me is although you have these incredible artists and people who've been nature journaling for so long and you can gather so many ideas, the one of the main nuggets that I got through with it all was like just let it go. Just let it go. Let your freak flag fly. Like be whimsy, be wonderful, be all of these things and don't like get so caught up in being precise and being really hard on yourselves and just to try new things because when we try it and we put in those pencil miles, then like good things come. And so it didn't matter if you were, in Mike Henley's like, graphite where it was super precision or you were, drawing weird and whimsy with Kate, like it really all had the same sort of flow, which was like, give it a try, go for it and have fun. And so those are the big takeaways that I sort of I'm going to continue to remind myself when I'm getting a little hard on myself about maybe that page didn't turn out the way I wanted it to or etc. is just to let it go and to learn from it and keep going.
Great. Okay, Ivea next, and then Sandra. It looks like your internet might be a little bit slow, but it seems to be getting better. So, Ivea, what was your key takeaway? And then Sandra, hopefully we can include you on this too.
So my key takeaway from this was that uh, maybe it's just because of the work that I was doing in it, which was a lot of pencil miles and chill, but that a lot of people are really searching for a community or that feeling of relating to each other or having people to bounce ideas off of or have people to share their excitement with or thinking about what this can mean for the rest of the world and where to go from here. Is that a lot of people are looking for community. Not everybody. Some people want to have more of their nature stuff to themselves, but for a lot of people, it's about community and it's about finding their people. And like what Billy Joe was saying about having our freak flag fly, it's about finding the other freaks to fly our flags together. It's more fun when you're all like dancing around together with sock puppets on your hands. Um, doing whatever you do, whether it's that you are looking for the art or the science or the questions or the connections, or just, I saw something really cool today and I want to remember this happiness right now. You're looking for other people to do that with. A lot of people are. That was
All
my key.
right. Thanks, Ivea. Sorry for the distractions here with some of the technical stuff. I think we just lost Sandra. So sorry about that, folks. But I see there's lots of people joining in the live chat. James, Karen, Cindy. People are appreciating a lot of the stuff that's been shared so far and learning from it. So that's really great. And it's also cool to hear from y'all because some of you are working on the like backstage of things. So that's really interesting. And I'll try to ask a question about that in a second. But let's dive into some sort of maybe nuts and bolts and sort of practical stuff that people can do now. Like I've heard multiple people, mentioning FOMO, like during the conference, burnout. People were burning out. I burnt out before the conference. I'm still sort of recovering from that. I also saw some posts about like mean comments and like stuff in the Q&A that was coming up. I know there were some like last minute changes and stress and all kinds of different other things like that happening. So like let's try to come up with some stuff that can be like really useful for, people that went to the conference and are maybe feeling like even depressed and sort of like this withdrawal afterwards. People who haven't gone at all, who might be feeling the FOMO, the fear of missing out. And then maybe also people who are trying to approach this from the video pass angle, like how can they like actually deal with this like massive amount of videos. So I guess my first sort of question is like, do you have any practices that you're doing or any tips for sort of following up? So like if I took a bunch of classes and I have like all of these pages and suddenly I'm not doing, nature journaling workshops every day and listening to Jack every day, like is there something that I can do to like help me follow up? Like, like I have all these ideas too that I thought of a bunch of ideas during the conference. Like, do you have any tips or techniques for sort of going through and, I have unfinished drawings also. I don't know if I'm the only one that has like a bunch of unfinished like classes and woodpeckers and this or that. So I know that's sort of a big rant, but do you have any tips for like how you're organizing? Some of you look really organized. So do you have any tips for like how to follow up or make the most out of this for people who kind of got this huge brain dump or whatever you call it, and now are trying to move forward with their lives? Let's go in that same order. So Kathleen, Billy Joe, and then Ivea.
This could apply, I think, to people who are either finished with the conference, partially through. I still have a handful of sessions that I haven't gotten to yet, or people that are going to be watching the sessions on the video. When I took my notes, I took a lot of them on photocopy paper, and I cut out some parts that I wanted to stick into the actual journal that I was doing. And then what really helped me think about what to do with this wealth of information was when I remembered to put a little to-do, there we go, a little to-do message for myself, the most practical thing I could take away. For example, on the Panama talk, on my to-do list is to visit an herbarium. I was thinking I've got a university down the road. I bet they've got a really cool herbarium that I can go in and sketch from. In the cartography and the map making of Alaska, my to-do down at the bottom here is simply to practice depicting key icons or legends. What do I want to draw to represent a mountain or a, whatever feature it might be? So I think just to distill like one little action step that I could take from as many of the sessions as I can come up with that for is really helpful for me anyway.
Great. Yeah, I love that concept. And I have a symbol that I try to do if there's like a follow-up or a to-do. And I try to like leave those symbols. So that's a really great technique, folks. If you've never created a symbol for yourself for like a to-do or follow-up on this point, come up with a little symbol that could work for you, or you could write the words to-do. Thanks, Kathleen. That was a great concept. How about you, Billy Joe?
Yeah, you know what? I'm probably the worst at this whole thing. If I look through my journals, there's tons of unfinished things. But I think my biggest thing that I have to continue to tell myself is just to give myself a break, right? I'm only one human. I only have one life, and I only have so many hours in a day. And so for me, it's baby steps, right? So what do I think, what did I enjoy the most? What was the one thing that maybe was like really stood out for me? And then how can I maybe foresee myself kind of adding that into my daily sort of things? Does that kind of make sense? So, I really had a lot of fun with Sushma's class. And so I went out and bought myself a little extra journal that's still empty, haven't done anything with it. But I really found in that class that I was like, oh, I don't have these paintbrushes. So I went and bought new paintbrushes with the idea and hope that I would sort of propel me into really becoming free with those watercolor flowers and sitting out in my garden and doing that. Well, it's been 2 days and I haven't done anything yet, but I'm giving myself a break. So, so I think those are the things for me, is that not to just be too hard on myself. And I'll get, like, it'll happen organically, and to appreciate the stuff that I was able to get to, and appreciate those moments that I was able to be really immersed. I heard a lot as I was typing frantically in the background, and what I heard was really great. So sometimes, even though I didn't get to nature journal it per se, I did, like, experience it still, right? So I can still have those ideas seeping around, and with me, sometimes they need a little time to sort of gel in there before I go, oh yeah, that happened, I can add it here, or something like that. So my biggest thing is, like, just give yourself a break.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that should come up anytime we start creating because I know, like, if I look through my bullet journal or my nature journal, I have all of these boxes, which is like my symbol for, like, follow up on this or do this. And it's one thing to, like, create the intention of following up on something, and at a certain point, is that stressful to have, like, a list of like 100 things that are unchecked? So thanks for sharing that. What about you, Ivea? Do you have any sort of, like, follow up or reflection or anything that you're recommending or you're doing yourself to sort of process? It's kind of a lot. Um, and yeah, maybe it'll be interesting to see in some of, like, Jack's meetups this week, like, if things are coming, because I've heard a lot of people saying, like, oh, I feel like this, or I feel like this. Like, how can we take advantage of this, like, momentum, and also, like, treat ourselves kindly? Because I think some people are feeling like the withdrawals, actually.
I agree with that. I think people are feeling withdrawals. I got messages from friends after almost immediately, like the next day after the conference was over, about how they were sad now, either because they hadn't woken up to a morning poem, or because they didn't get to see everybody, or because there weren't classes. And so I can agree about that. And I really like both Kathleen and Billy Joe's takeaways about making the to-do list. I love that. I'm a compulsive list maker, so seeing the to-do and follow up about what skills you want to practice more that Kathleen's doing makes me excited. And then what Joe said about going gentle on yourself and giving yourself a break, and then also finding, like, the way that Billy Joe focused on Sushma and what sparked joy for her, which was Sushma thing, and then, like, I'm gonna get those paintbrushes because this is something I want to do and spark joy on. And I know that that's a Marie Kondo quote, but I dig it. Like, those are things that I totally agree with and want to follow through too. For me, there's like two different parts of me. There's the part of me who wants who two different roles, I guess you could say. There's my own personal self-care about what I'm doing after the conference, and then there's also what I can do to help other people after that, because I know a lot of people are still craving community. So trying to create opportunities and make sure people know about them for the ones who want to have that community, to make sure the community is readily available for them. And then also for myself, I burned out. Similar to you, Marley, I had burned out before Wild Wonder had even begun due to other things in life. Wild Wonder began, I was into the note taking for all of a class and a half, and then I don't remember whether it was that there were interruptions, then chaos happened both at home and during the conference, like an hour after my class that I did. And so I crashed. I began to climb back up for one class, and then PG&A walked by and made my internet disappear, and I was pissed. Okay, sorry, maybe I shouldn't say that on YouTube. The point is that my journal for this was a train wreck, but I decided to let that go too. And instead, it gives me a new opportunity to go back and take my time and really savor each of the classes. I may not have journaled with most of them, but I was listening to most of them. I listened to almost every single one because I wanted the experience of being there with the people who were teaching, and knowing that I gave them my attention, since we value attention. So now I get to go back and savor. And I'm also going to be looking for friends to share excitement with. And I'm hoping that other folks will do that too. Maybe there's some kind of a way throughout the year that we can check in with people who went to Wild Wonder and help them, like, share the continued excitement that they're experiencing. So that way we can keep the feeling of excitement from Wild Wonder alive. I think that would really help people to know that feeling's not gone.
Thanks, Ivea. That was really cool. All right, so, well, it seems like there's sort of some of these categories of things that are worthwhile to follow up on. Billy Joe shared, specific paintbrushes, and I noticed that in Sushma's class as well, that like the technique she was doing was very reliant on having a certain type of paintbrush. So maybe there's certain like art materials that you want to follow up on, and be careful with that one because there's in our culture it's really easy to just buy things. And after this conference, I'm sure lots of us have added new things to our shopping list. But so in addition to materials, there's also the network. So like, did you meet new people? Did you hear about new groups? Did you did you talk about in a Pencil Miles and Chill session, like, maybe we should create an email list for people who are trying to be professional nature journalers so we can provide support? Or did you learn about new teachers or new artists that you want to follow? So maybe we can do a quick round where we just share about maybe an artist or a teacher that we didn't know about before that we're excited to learn from, that we learned about at this conference. It could also be like a peer, peer teacher. I'm less hierarchical in how I think about teaching, but let's hear from Kathleen, Billy Joe, and then Ivea on if there's any teacher or artist or small business person that you learned about and want to follow after the conference.
This is a good topic because it's not just the techniques and subjects that we want to remember, it's the people and the connections. And I'm not going to call out one or two people, but I'm going to give something that I thought of this year. Last year was my first year at the conference, and I did not do this, and I found a need to do this. So this year, at the end of my journal, I'm creating a page where I'm listing all of the teachers or the participants in, the Pencil Mile chats or whatever, and I'm writing their contact information, their social media, their channels, their topic of specialty. Because last year I connected with a bunch of people, and just like, for example, on Instagram, I'm like, were you at the Wild Wonder? Is it? And so I need a little list, and I don't know if there's something in our workshop packets that has a list of all of the presenters already, if I'm duplicating that. But anyway, that was one of my record keeping lists that I wanted to do this year.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. And I feel like people are often underrepresented in our nature journal entries. And so, like, if you go to a nature journal outing where there's multiple people, it's really common. I've seen it, I've done it on my own pages to like draw the flowers and draw the plants, but I don't draw or even write down the names of the people that I was there with. So, really good point, Kathleen. Think about how you can use your nature journal or whatever notebook you're using during the conference to record information about those people. And Eli's pointing out too that the presenter info is on Shed, whatever. And also one thing that I talked about before the conference that you can do is you can look through all of the attendees and people who want to share their information and their links can put it on Shed. So like I recommended that people try to take advantage of that because since it is a virtual conference, it's a little bit harder to have these kind of like meetings that would happen at an in-person thing, but it is still possible. So similar to like how I said Pencil Miles and Chill is the best thing at the conference, these kind of networking things are your opportunity to meet other people and all of that. So lots of stuff in the comments that I can't even keep up with, but thanks Eli for sharing that one. Let's get on to the next couple of things, because with all of the great ideas, we're burning through our time, and I know Ivea has to leave here pretty soon. So maybe before Ivea leaves, we can talk just a little bit about maybe tips for people who are doing this as a video pass. So for people who, for example, live in a time zone where they couldn't go to very many or any of the lives, or people who are working. Do you have any tips for people who are approaching this just from the watching these as videos? And let's go in our same order. So Kathleen, actually, let's start with Ivea since Ivea is going to have to leave pretty soon.
So Sandra made a comment in the chat that I agree with. Sandra saying that she would love an accountability partner post-conference. And it would be good similarly to have video pass partner post-conference, just somebody who you could talk to and share with. Although I want to encourage folks, even if you're not putting your pages up exactly at the conference, keep putting up your pages. Sometimes it's like one of the funnest things to go onto people's Instagrams and see the pages that they got excited about and just hear their thoughts about it. And so that doesn't have to end when the conference ends. So that's one thing I would say about the video pass. And then also that way, by putting it out there, if you have questions, you can write that and include that in your entry and see who responds. And so it can be a way of continuing conversations that were begun in the video pass, just as a thought.
Ooh, good idea. Thanks, Ivea. How about you, Bill? Let's go in reverse now. Billy Joe.
Yeah, I would say, like, again, because when you look at, I've done a video pass in the past, and when I went on, I was like, whoa, this is really overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Right? Like, do I start on day one? Do I go right to day 5? Like, what do I do? And so one of the things that I might suggest is, like, again, giving yourself a break. Start with the daily poem. It's 15 minutes, right? It's 15 minutes. You get to start your day, put that into your nature journal. You can sort of, I started doodling a little bit, like along the edges. Like I kind of started to like pretty it up, which I've also never sort of done before. So just, kind of getting your hands working a little. There we go. It's backwards. So, adding in the poem and then, just doing this little bit of doodling down the side, just kind of like giving yourself a little bit of a breather. And then, look through the topics and be like, ooh, I really like bugs. And so then you're like, maybe I'm going to go to the bug one, or, ooh, the scavenger one probably has bugs too, right? So try to like pick a couple of things that really stand out. And then, again, give yourself some time. You got 6 months, right? You don't have to do them all in the first week. You could do one a week, right? And then just every day, maybe you're doing that 15 minutes. So again, give yourself a break, space it out, add in a little bits here and there, and have fun. That's the most important thing, is have fun.
Great. Those are really great ideas, and I want to follow up on that. But first, before Ivea has to go, Ivea, do you have any? I know you're very active with Pencil Miles and Chill. Maybe you can plug Pencil Miles and Chill in case people want to continue to feel that sense of community, or just plug some of the things that you're up to that are, I think, super great resources for people.
Thank you. Okay, so Pencil Miles and Chill. For those who haven't known, it's outside of the conference too. We meet Thursday mornings 8 a.m. Pacific. I promise, not p.m. 8 a.m. Pacific, and then also Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific in the afternoon. We're also trying to encourage some other friends in different parts of the world to start their own Pencil Miles and Chill, so that way people will have times that work in their time zone, so that you can meet each other. The idea with that is just that we sit, we chat, we draw. Sometimes we gossip about nature. It's fun. It's fun. I'm also going to be doing this thing. If you happen to be on the Facebook, I'm going to be doing Spotlight Sundays, where I'll be saying, shout out to this region of the world. Tell us about your seasonal wonders. But then it also helps you find people who live in the same area as you, so that we can keep the community. I know that Wild Wonder, the foundation and website, is going to be doing future things where they begin to highlight teachers or leaders of the communities all around the world. So we're trying to make it so that it's not all Bay Area focused. There'll be other things too. And I will be around if people have any questions. Just let Marley know. He'll let me know. I'll help. And thank you for having me. Marley, Kathleen, Billy Joe, Sandra, it was wonderful to see all of you. All of you have a wonderful evening. I'm so thankful we got to do this together.
Bye, Ivea. Maybe someone who's participating in the chat one of the people watching the show, I'm going to switch to this because I feel like it's less weird. Maybe someone could put the link for Pencil Miles and Chill in case you've never been. One of the ways you can access it, if you use Google Calendar, there's a whole Wild Wonder community calendar that has tons of nature journaling events. You can post your own events. If you don't know about it already, you can find out, I think, on John Muir Law's website or the wildwonder.org website. And that calendar, you can post if you're leading nature journaling workshops, you can post them there also. So just wanted to say that. But there were some really great tips here. Sandra's mentioning that even if you're watching the videos, that a buddy could be really useful. And Eli has a really great idea here. Good way to convert some muggles, maybe. So try that one out. Maybe you could just say like, "Hey, like, come over to my house for dinner," and then you could just put on one of the videos from the Wild Wonder conference, and voila, uh, you're converting muggles there. So great ideas. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask about is what about like moving forward? Do you have plans moving forward or tips for moving forward? I know we mentioned some stuff that could be considered in this category, like, getting the brushes, but like, how else do you want to take, like, because there's so many things besides just learning art techniques at this conference. Like, how do you envision moving forward and carrying some of that momentum forward? And maybe any recommendations for other people. Let's go Kathleen, then Billy Joe.
I think the biggest thing that just came to my mind right away when you said that is the passion project session. I mean, it fits in perfectly. It's just the perfect segue from, wow, you're in this conference to, hey, you're on your own. What are you going to do? Um, that session was a wonderful prompts to get you to come up with your own meaningful, joyful project of your own choosing that's measurable. How long do you want to do it? What do you want it to mean to you? I mean, it's the perfect segue out of the conference.
Wow, that is great. Yeah, that class, I loved how organized that class was and the way that she had these like prompts that we're supposed to write ourselves, do those prompt ideas ourselves, and how that can create sort of a certain motivation and I mean, she thought through that class really well. So if you haven't taken the class yet, we're talking about Kathleen just mentioned Rosalie Hazlett's class on a passion project, and this is something that could apply to other things besides just nature journaling, but it's an amazing class. And I love that idea, Kathleen, of using that as a way, as a sort of springboard going forward. What about you, Billy Joe?
Yeah, so art thing is one, like you said, but for me, being an outdoor educator, I really like try to focus in and grab all those tidbits of information that I can potentially use with kiddos moving forward. And so I'm partnering with a few classes like around here at my kids' school this year and trying to come up with some ideas. And Avea's one on stewardship was a really great one that I was like, oh, I bet you I could like weave that in to nature journaling in a project for these kids, or Rosalie's with a passion project. And so picking up those little tidbits of information that I could be like, oh, and weave them into something bigger than just what's in the book. And so those were the things that I really liked, are those education pieces that could kind of spark something a little bit extra. So Stephanie Doyle's was another one with the bugs, right? I was thinking kids are always scared of bugs. So how could we like take a bug? And I was like, could I capture a bug for the day? Could I bring that into the school? And I was thinking about all these really cool ways of like how we can engage our youth even more into nature journaling, but like also make it even bigger. Sort of thing. So those are the things that I was sort of really latching onto, or all those little extra tidbits on the teaching part, which was really cool.
Great. Yeah, I love that. And I think that, as was mentioned early on in our conversation, there's so many things that were included in this conference. And a lot of the keynote speakers, for example, some of them had never even heard of nature journaling, I'm pretty sure, before they got invited to speak to this conference. But they're talking about these sort of big picture ideas. They were often passionate people in their subject matters. So I think it's a really good opportunity for all of us to sort of think outside of our box and consider how what we're doing is related to all these other things. And like Billy Joe is mentioning, how can we take some of the like energy and ideas that from the conference and apply them in our everyday life? So that was really cool. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do a quick lightning round where we just answer some yes or no questions, and then to spice things up a little bit, and then come back to some of the normal questions. So I just have a couple of these yes or no questions related to the conference. And we can just go, now that there's just three of us, we can just go Kathleen, Billy Joe, and All right. So, first question, these are just yes or no questions, is did you try any new media or approaches?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you have enough snacks?
No.
Yes. Too many.
Did you sleep enough?
Yes.
I tried.
Did you ever once cry?
No.
No.
I got pretty close a couple times. Sometimes Jack, he's a real tearjerker on those keynotes sometimes. Did you ever laugh out loud?
Yes.
Yes.
Me too. Did you meet someone new?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, me too. Did you add any new books to your wish list?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's where Ivea went right now. She has a book club that she does. So Ivea's
Oh yeah.
in her book club right now. Okay, and then the last one, and I think Sandra in the audience already partially answered this one, but did you watch or listen to any of the sessions while in bed or the bathroom?
No.
Yes.
So one of the things that I did differently this year that I was recommending people do is I usually don't do like Zoom on my phone or anything like that, but I got Zoom on my phone, the app, and then I got the Sked app or whatever. And so like if I was eating breakfast and I thought I was gonna miss, because I have to walk a ways to where I eat breakfast where I'm living right now. But I thought I would miss the morning thing. I would just put it on, or like for the keynotes or for Jack's, I would just like sometimes listen to them. And I think there were a couple times where I was probably listening in the bathroom, but luckily all the participants are muted automatically. So, but thanks for sharing that. I saw that Sandra mentioned listening to the poem was a helpful way for getting out of bed. So good job in the lightning round. I usually do like a more extended lightning round in my like one-on-one interviews. But for our last part here, let's think of like what kind of, if you have any suggestions for how people can, and we've talked about this a little bit, but if you have any suggestions for how people can synthesize we talked about how there was a diversity of information at the conference, and in some ways it's overwhelming, like I have, for example, like random things like this lying around that aren't inside of my nature journal. I have a similar thing happening, metaphorically in my head with all of these different things, all these different ideas, all these different desires too. Do you have any recommendations, or maybe like what you're going to do personally for synthesizing all of that? Starting with Kathleen and then Billy Joe.
Yeah, I think apply it to yourself. You're the one who's living inside your body and experiencing your life. Customize it to you. Take whatever it is from each session and apply it to what fits for you, what works for you. I mean, if there's a session that you haven't got to yet, or you're on the video pass and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm really interested in that one, you can find some little thread from what that person is saying to connect to you and your life and your experience, and you can make it work for you. So customize the whole thing, make it fit for you.
I love that answer. It feels like we planned that out ahead of time. That was really great. I wasn't even thinking about that. Okay, how about you, Billy Joe? What kind of synthesis are you doing, or do you recommend?
Yeah, I think very similar to what Kathleen said. I haven't purchased any books yet, right? So I have the list of what I want, but my thought was, okay, Billy Joe, don't do it. Don't go buy all the books, because then I'll be like overwhelmed, right? So my thought process for me is like, start with one thing, just one thing. So my goal before the end of the week is to pull out the brand new paintbrushes, sit in my garden and paint the flowers. So just one thing at a time, and then be like, this went well. I'm feeling confident about this. Okay, right? And then sort of build myself up as opposed to getting everything and then just being like, okay, I'm not doing anything because now I'm just too overwhelmed, right? So, like, little tiny steps. That's going to be my thing of taking it one thing at a time. And I feel like I've already pulled out some of the things that really resonated with me. So now one at a time, one at a time.
Wow, that is really awesome. And see, this is why I like Pencil Miles and Chill, and this is why I like having guests on the Nature Journal show, is that you get so many better ideas if you sort of crowdsource them, because both of your ideas were really cool things that, I could spend a couple hours before the show coming up with my own ideas, but those were such great ideas so thanks for sharing those. And everybody who's at home, think about these ways to synthesize your Wild Wonder experience. Think about all of these great tips for people who are doing the video pass and all of that. And then I also want to thank Valerie for there's this feature on YouTube where you can give like a thanks and donate to the Nature Journal show directly through YouTube. And Valerie just donated $10, which is awesome. It's like a feature in the chat that I guess most people don't know about. So while I'm on that note, I'll just, because I always forget to do this part, but I do have a Patreon, and these are the people that basically make the show possible, which is really great. And now that I plugged myself, let's hear from both of you. I know Kathleen has a YouTube channel. I don't know what Billy Joe wants to plug, but now's your chance to share anything you want people to know about the work that you do in the world or anything else. What are you up to in the world, and where can people learn more about that? Starting with Kathleen and then Billy Joe.
My background is in elementary art education, and I started a YouTube channel last year. A lot of mixed media art journal stuff in there too, as well as the nature journals. Look me up on YouTube or social media as Creative Solace Studios.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get I'm not great at searching. I follow you, but let me see if I can get the link and share it in the chat. And I'll definitely put it in the description down below on the video. All right, how about you, Billy Joe?
Well, I'm sort of new to all this, so I'm just recently sort of switched jobs, and so now I am currently sort of partnering up with some schools, and I am going to try my best to design some programs and hopefully be marketing myself out to the world shortly. But I do have an Instagram account. I'm at Billy Joe Outdoors, and I do try to post on there all the time. So you can follow me there from right now. And who knows at this point what the future holds. So look out. You never know.
Yay. Great. And I just saw, like, I was trying to multitask and go over to your YouTube, and multiple people here have found it and shared it in here. So thanks to Sydney. Sydney also had a great comment earlier. I should share this one before we go. Here we go. She was excited to find us. One thing I've noticed is that even after like a 12-hour day of Wild Wonder, people are really excited if I do like a recap at the end of the day. Some of those people have just come directly from Jack's backstage pass, and everyone still wants to keep talking about it. So that is really awesome. And then someone is asking if we can get Billy Joe's Instagram in the chat on the YouTube. So maybe someone can post. You said Billy Joe Outdoors, right?
It's at Billy Joe Outdoors. So BILLIEJO Outdoors. No underscores, all one word.
Maybe I could delegate that to Sydney, since Sydney did such a great job with, I have trouble typing and doing this, but I'll definitely add them into the description later. And before I say goodbye, one last thing I forgot to mention before, or drop into a little bit. Billy Joe, could you share maybe just like one little anecdote or tidbit about the behind the stage stuff? Because I feel like that's something that a lot of people aren't aware of. And I think a little bit of Obviously, it's good to have sort of like a curtain there for show business to happen in a certain way, but sometimes it's good to see what's happening back there so that we can really empathize with all that's going on. Maybe you have an anecdote or something, something funny, or I don't know.
There's a lot going on behind there. And we don't chat in the chat. We have a companion document. So it's alive in a Google Doc that is all of the chaos that is happening during it. So I don't know about an antidote, but some days they're like, oh, that one was really chill. And the other time you're like, whoa, what just happened? The chat blew up, the Q&A blew up. So just know that there is a huge team behind this, and things are changing minute to minute. At one point, Jack was under a table, like tech wasn't working. People are canceling, people are coming, and we are on the fly trying to figure it out. So even if you're like, what? Just know that we're doing our best. We put on this amazing conference and there's so much going behind the scenes. So, give some love always to the behind the scenes crew, because they are the most amazing team. And I will give a major shout out to Roseanne, because she is the organizing craziness behind the whole thing, and she kept it together and it was amazing. So, that's my whole thing from behind the scenes.
Wow. I can barely imagine that, because my brain doesn't work that way. And the one time that the I did the last minute kit review session, and there were some things happening last minute, before we signed on. It was I was doing breathing to try to regulate my heartbeat, because I was listening to all of this stuff happening, and I was just oh my God, my heartbeat is just going out of control. And so I
Yep.
was just
Or we're
to
stressing
breathe.
because the time changes and we're like, that person's 10 hours away from us. Did they mess it up? Oh no, they're here. Or we're texting them, we're calling them, we're trying to figure it out.
Wow.
It's that green room sometimes can be really chill. And sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, are we going to get this webinar up on time? Right? Or, the live from the Tony Foster, that's a whole other world to add on to that, is
Yeah.
that we're still behind the scenes. There's still the webinar, plus there's this whole external piece that's live as well. So the moving parts to make this come together is pretty remarkable. So even sometimes we know it doesn't always go exactly the way the schedule goes, and I know that can sometimes upset people, but really try in those moments to think at least I'm not behind the scenes, because I bet you that's a lot more stressful back there, right? So just give a little love.
Yeah, the stressful part for me is I'm trying to figure out how to get all my chocolate and my watercolors all in, so that I can reach them from the same place, and make
And
sure.
we're running with less than 2 minutes to pee in between moderating sessions,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So
Wow, that's great. I'm gonna put this up on the screen in case people didn't see it, but Eli posted, is that right? Okay.
yep, that's it. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, you can follow Billy Joe on Instagram, and definitely check out Kathleen's Creative Solace Studios on YouTube. All right, y'all, thanks for joining. I feel like we could keep talking forever, but thanks for joining in. And for everyone at home and watching this as a recorded version, take some of these tips and roll with them. I think there was a lot of great ideas and great value in this conversation from our community. All right, y'all, bye.
Thank you.